From our attitudes.
It got a bit worse as more people found out that I was lesbian. I got my windows broken in my flat and I had my car stolen and burnt out.
To the bricks and mortar around us.
It's strong because it's able to bend a bit. And I think there's a lesson for all us politicians in that.
And even the games we play.
It's a nasty one and up they go for it. And it's just wide on the upright.
How has life changed here in the past 40 years? Join me, Mark Patterson, for a special 3-part series continuing on Wednesday at 1:30 here on BBC Radio Foyle and BBC Sounds.
BBC Radio Foyle at 40.
Well, this week we continue to look at LGBT Pride, or Foyle Pride, which takes all sorts of different forms around the world. What began as a political movement in the States demanding equality and human rights for gay people has evolved in so many ways. Today, Pride includes festivals, parades. You know all about it these days. Today, I wonder what it's like to be gay and to also live with autism. My studio guest is Ronnie. Ronnie, you're very welcome. Good to see you.
Hello, nice to see you.
And Ronnie, it's an interesting one because you said to my team, I'm ready to talk about this. So today is a marker for you in life, isn't it? And
yeah, I'd say so.
Difficult to come to here, the studio today, Ronnie?
Yeah, it is. I've definitely gone through a lot of shame and self-loathing about it. I am still afraid to show affection in any way to my boyfriend in public with recent homophobic attacks in London and even Belfast. So what got me on the radar for this was I'm making a banner for me to hold on Foyle Pride, and I was with the Rainbow Project and we were coming up with ideas for banners, and I was talking about autism and someone said, how about you do one for LGBT and autism? So I came up with queer and autistic often go together, we're people, not puzzles. So it took me a while to arrive at this. So what I mean is often go together is it seems like autistic people are more likely to be LGBT than neurotypical people. 1% of people are autistic and 1% of people are transgender. But 1 in 10 autistic people are transgender.
And why for you, Ronnie, is that such an important observation?
Well, I think it's just because there's very little representation of queer and autistic in media or anywhere. So if 1 in 10 are trans, obviously more than that are LGBT in other ways.
Yes. So in a sense, what potentially in life you're isolated on 2 key scores. Is that an accurate way of putting it?
So.
How, Ronnie, we're being delicate about this because, as I say, this is a big step for you in your life. What have been the things in life when it comes to the heels of the hunt in a journey like yours? What has been tough? Is it school? Is it other stuff?
Yeah, all of that. So I'm just going to say, for the banner, I put we're people, not puzzles, because a lot of autism charities or organisations, they use a puzzle piece in their logo. And if they use a puzzle piece in their logo, that is a sign that they do not have autistics on the staff and they did not ask autistics. Because the puzzle either means autistic people are a puzzle to be solved or it's a puzzle to fit them into society, and neither are particularly flattering.
I get that. I get what you're saying, yes.
I went with an infinity loop, which is a symbol designed by autistics to say that autism is a diverse spectrum, and I don't love it, but it's definitely better than the puzzle piece.
So I absolutely get the importance of that, and I've never had to think about it. It's almost to make you a commodity, like a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
And you're not. You're a human being.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, back to the difficulties.
Yes.
So there's many different kinds of autism. It is a spectrum after all. And the kind I have is called PDA, which stands for pathological demand avoidance. Now, that is a pretty rare form of autism. It was only discovered in the 1990s by Elizabeth Newson in Nottingham University, who happened to be my mum's professor when she went there.
Very good.
So she discovered it in the 90s. And my mum also has PDA, as autism is often passed through families. Now, PDA sounds made up. A lot of people I describe this to do not believe me.
Well, the P is kind of a strong word. The P's pathological.
Yeah, pathological. And it absolutely should be that strong. So, pathological demand avoidance. It means if someone puts a demand on you, So it tells you to do something or tries to get you to do something.
Yes.
You just get really bad anxiety and you want to avoid it. And if that sounds like a strong word, if pathological sounds like a strong word, it's totally accurate because it is. You've no control over it.
But that's what this interview must feel like to you.
Oh, yeah, but I want to do it. So it's kind of a conflict between having to do it and wanting to do it. But if I want to do it, I can get over it.
Yeah.
So it's hardwired into your brain to the point where I was like this before I could talk. And I've always been like this. So a lot of autistic kids have quite poor social skills. That's like the stereotype. But PDA is sort of the opposite because you pick up social skills very fast because if any little demand is sending your brain into panic mode, you're going to want to get out of it. So you learn at a very young age to manipulate people to get you out of it. So I was diagnosed when I was 5, but I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, which is another form of autism, but it never fit me. And when I heard about PDA, I heard about it on the radio, it put my entire life into context. I was struggling my whole life, and it was just like flipping a switch. And I just, knew about new PDA.
So, and this is fascinating because you strike me as a very interesting interviewee. Mm-hmm. You're not here necessarily to be subject to my questions. You're here because you want to make a point, and you want to be in control as the educator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that seems to be like it's almost part of what you're talking about.
Yeah, it totally is. It informs every aspect of my personality. That's why I say I'm autistic and not I have autism. You can't take the autism out of the person. So an interesting story is when I was a little kid, since before I could talk, I would hate getting presents. I always hated it. Because if someone gives you something you don't want, the implication is you have to say thank you, which, it's not authentic because you don't want it. So that's a demand, and you have to take it if you don't want it. And if, even if it's something you want, they're still expecting something back from you.
So you can't do fake gratitude or fake emotion, is that right?
Oh, no, I've learned. I've learned over the years. I may seem, professional and all that, but it's mostly an act. I've learned the rules. It's not a natural behaviour for me. It's a learned behaviour.
But that's the human story, Ronnie.
Yeah.
That's us all. We all play the game. Yeah, we all show a facade to the world.
But the thing is, it's quite difficult to do that because it's very unnatural. So generally, autistic people get tired a lot more easily than, neurotypical people because...
Tired of what?
More energy.
Tired of emotion? Tired of...
physically worn out because putting on that mask takes energy.
Does me questioning you, can I be blunt, does it bug you?
No.
Okay.
But if I wasn't wanting to do the interview, it would be.
Yes.
But I'm here to do the interview. So when I heard about PDA, I got on social media and I found the PDA Society. So it's a society of people with PDA. It's mostly parents. There's not many adults who do it. Their logo, you can see here on my pin, is a panda. Now, I think that's quite fascinating because pandas, they are endangered and they don't do well in a lot of environments. But if you get the right environment for them, they thrive and they do well. So I think that PDA is like that. You need the right environment to do well.
But some are saying, and I'm not making the parallel to PDA and human beings, but some look at pandas and go, they're the creators of their own genetic cul-de-sac. If all you're going to eat is bamboo and there's not much good in eating bamboo, you have to eat 14 ton of it before you get any sense of nourishment, and they fall off stuff and they bumble about. You know what I mean? People are saying, well, why are they a positive image for you, Ronnie?
Well, I think people who are saying that is if you apply that logic to people...
And I'm not applying it to you.
I know, but if
it's still your symbol.
It's a bit dodgy because you're basically implying that certain people shouldn't exist because they don't fit into the narrow predefinition of their own society. So, when I discovered the PDA Society, I found they have conferences in England, and they're mainly for professionals dealing with PDA, but I decided to go. So I went and I learned a lot of fascinating stuff because PDA was only discovered in the 90s. Asperger's was only discovered in the 30s or 40s. So we know about as much about PDA today as was known about Asperger's in the 50s. So there's still a lot to understand. And America don't even recognise it at all.
Do you think it's shaped by the shape of the modern world, Ronnie? Would there have been PDA people 100 years ago?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think it would have always existed. It is hardwired into your brain. It's just a fact of your neurology. And I think PDA people would have existed as long as history. Because
It makes you a very striking person, if I might say so. I mean, you meet you, Ronnie. I've met you before in different set of circumstances, and you don't forget meeting you. Are there advantages to it in terms of the difference?
Well, there's advantages like, I can't really be manipulated and I tend to be quite strong-willed, but there's a lot more disadvantages too. So I could go into that. Now, this isn't a thing exclusive to PDA. This is a thing a lot of autistic people have. Not all, but a lot. It's sensory issues. So generally, like when you get a lot of information, like noise or light or whatever, your brain will filter it out and only give you the relative information. You can just tune things out. So autistic people can't do that easily. They can't really tune things out. So a lot of people tend to get overwhelmed and have panic attacks if something's too bright or too noisy. And
Too many bells and whistles. This is why that Cinema Then initiative makes so much sense. The Simpson family said, look, we'll switch off all the games and all the Space Invaders in our cinema and we'll have a special screening for folk living
I didn't
the
know
way you've
that.
described. And they basically make it easy for kids with maybe some of the stuff you're talking about to enjoy the movie.
And I know the Simpsons family. I inherited a bunch of their clothes once, so I still have a couple of his shirts that I wear. So,
Ronnie, what's it like? I don't think I have any of the stuff you're talking about. Could be wrong, but when they opened these studios and spent money on them, I walked in and exhaled, and my shoulders relaxed because it used to be an angular kind of a busted up environment in our studios. They'd done their job, but it's soft lit. It can be purple, it can be red, it can be green. How does in here feel to you?
oh, I like it. It's super chill.
Good, good.
Because you need the soundproofing for the radio, but now I really like it in here.
Yes.
But if it's...
But that really matters.
Yeah.
Because previously, if I'd have come into you and their flickering lights are bright white.
that'd be annoying.
Yeah.
But I get the sensory issues. Some people don't. Some people might have no sensory issues, but might hardly be able to talk.
So, Ronnie, basically, are you saying that a driver for you today is to etch out a little niche in the Pride story, which has maybe been misunderstood or just not understood until now?
Yeah, I think
the
so,
autistic.
'cause if it's not Pride, if it's not accessible to everyone, everyone who wants to come. So I think one of the big difficulties I had in life, one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, was school. Schools are not equipped to deal with autistic children, and especially not PDA. I dropped out of primary school at 9 years old because I was ready to kill myself to get out of the demands.
Right.
I was, if you think about going to school, you've got to get up, get out of bed, get dressed, brush your teeth. That's 5 demands before you're out of bed. And if every demand wants to, give you the point to have a panic attack, if you're a kid and you especially don't understand those feelings, it's just terrible. And they could never get me to do any work in school, and I would just sit there most of the day.
I mean, you're smart. Could you pass exams?
Not in primary school.
Yeah,
I just
no?
couldn't engage. So I dropped out of primary school and I was homeschooled for 3 years. And then I went back in secondary school and I was able to, do the exams, but I went into an empty classroom at lunchtime. I had so little energy from having to put the mask on. I couldn't do anything else and I was really badly bullied for being the weird kid. But I was able to pass the exams, and then I went to tech in WRC.
Good.
It was better. I could still pass the exams, but I was very young. I didn't really understand what was expected of me, and the demands were just piling on top of demands, and I had no idea what PDA was, so I didn't know why I was feeling like that.
Hold on, PDA again. Just remind us: pathological demand
Avoidance.
avoidance.
Yeah.
So you hate stuff that demands you to behave in a certain way.
Unless I want to do it.
What about those 5 demands in the morning then? What happens if the demand to clean your teeth, eat your breakfast, clean your ears, all that kind of stuff, if those demands were removed,
Oh, I can do it now.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I couldn't because I had no idea. But if I really want to do it and I want to look my best, it's not a, in my household, we always had a saying, if, we were trying to get me and my brother when we were kids, trying to get us to work, my parents would always say, do it with a glad and willing heart or not at all. And I really feel that for PDA. So when I was in tech, I didn't really want to be there. I didn't choose my course. And I was being forced to go in, and I was in despair. I was walking in every day over the bridge, just thinking, shall I jump in to get out of this? But
what were you studying?
IT.
And what did you feel your gift in life was? What do you feel you're good at? What is your thing?
Well, I've only just found out. I've only just decided I want to do accounting. I've only just applied this year, so I'm going to uni this year to do accounting, but I finished my tech course about 5 years ago, and I didn't know what I wanted to do.
And why does accountancy potentially give you joy and fulfillment?
I just like it.
Completions?
Yeah, I said when I first discovered it and I was doing my parents' financial statements, I was like, wow, this is like video games except a lot more fun.
You see? And I can think, Ronnie, and I'm only being honest, I can think of nothing more dull. Tax returns terrify me. It's the one day of the year when I have to take, do what I'm told by, I call her my boss, she does my, or did my return. And yet that stuff for you is an enlivening place.
I'd never even thought about it before the beginning of this year, and I just discovered it because my parents are self-employed and I was going to do it.
And you do their books now?
Yeah.
And they done, what would your parents say, are you good at it?
No, because I have a lot to learn.
Yeah,
I'm getting a degree.
But you have the baseline.
Yeah, I've got the baseline, so I'm going to be glad about that. So I think the reason why PDA is so hard, especially on children, is they don't have any control of their life. So now as an adult, I have total control over everything I want to do. I only do this because I want to, and I'm only going to uni because I want to, and I only get up in the morning because I want to. I have trouble with sleep. It's hard to get up, but I want to do it, and I can. So I can function without the PDA getting to me, but kids with no control, they can just be in a state of constant panic all the time.
I have never...
People think they can be rude or naughty and not understand, but they're hardwired like that. That's just how they are.
Listeners won't see what I'm saying. I want you to come back, Ronnie. There's about 8 of the 10 things that I really wanted to talk about that we haven't even touched on because this has been absolutely educational. I've never interviewed someone... people bring notes in and stuff, but you've been taking a lot of your narrative from your smartphone because you want to get this spot on and accurate. Is that right? Is that what's happening here?
Yep, and if you're autistic, your mind's so busy and scattershot, it's helped to have something to focus.
Yes.
So here's something really interesting. In studies that they've made by dissecting the brains of autistic people and neurotypical people who have died, autistic people have a lot more neurons than neurotypical people.
So your brain's bigger.
So generally, no, that's not necessarily a good thing. So generally, if you don't use neurons, they get turned off.
Yeah.
So your brain is allowed to focus more. In autistic people, it seems the function that turns off neurons isn't happening. So it's a lot more stuff you don't need. So your mind's constantly busy and going, and there's loads of voices and random stuff in your head. So
did you say neurotypical?
Yes.
That's the likes of me, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not autistic. It's easier than saying not autistic.
Neurotypical. This is an education.
So,
Ronnie, you're going to have to come back. We wanted you in today to talk about Foyle Pride because it's a signature day for you to make that statement as a young man, to own that as an autistic gay person. And Foyle Pride for you, Ronnie, will you be walking?
Yeah, I'll be in the parade. I've got my sign saying queer and autistic often go together.
And will you do what the stewards tell you?
Yeah, I'm sure.
You know what I mean, though?
I know the stewards. They're nice people. So I want to say social programs such as ESA and PIP are so valuable for autistic and other disabled people. I got PIP, so I was able to work on personal development. And
PIP, remind people, it's a student allowance.
No, it's personal independence payment. It's
Yes.
disability allowance.
Yes. And that makes a difference.
Yeah.
So if that's cut in austerity, for example, that also makes a difference.
Yeah. So if I had to go to a job that I wasn't qualified to do or was physical or would tire me out straight away when I was 18, I probably would have killed myself. I couldn't have handled it. But now I've got, the pressure's taken off with ESA and PIP, which is employment and support allowance and personal independence payment.
So so with the accountancy in hand, then, Ronnie, if we're talking again 5-10 years, you will be excelling in that,
and I won't need the benefits anymore.
Yeah.
But the fact I've had them has allowed me to get to the level where I can do that. So
we could sit here till tea time, and I would be rapt. Ronnie, can I ask you a really simple question? Are you proud of your journey? Are you proud that you've got to this place?
I am. A lot of it's happened in the past year. I've been doing so much, and I couldn't have done this a year ago. I wouldn't have had the confidence or the knowledge.
And what has helped you? And not just your own ability. Clearly, you're a smart guy. But what has helped you in life?
I don't know. It's discovering PDA is one of the biggest things. It's like turned my whole life around, because I didn't know about it because it was so well known, and I never knew why I was the way I was.
But finding friends, we've talked about I've talked to you before about a specific kind of friendship group.
Yeah.
That can be meaningful as well, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. I met my boyfriend about 5 years ago, and it's just, that's been great. I haven't really kept friends that long, but it's good.
Yeah.
Good to do.
Ronnie, our time. Will you please come in again? And we will dig into these things a little more.
I just want to end by this. So if you are struggling with any issues related to being LGBT or autistic or mental health issues, I want to tell you this, and it's something I wish someone had been there to tell me all the times when I was struggling and I wanted to die. I know how you feel.
Ronnie, thank you for that. On a lighter note, I woke up this morning because Declan had been briefing me, and we've been looking forward to you coming in this week, and I couldn't find matching socks. So today I want to put that foot up at the desk and say I dedicate my socks to you.
Very festive.
Well, there's red and there's orange, there's yellow, there's white. So I thought I'm going to wear those socks today for Ronnie. Ronnie, I'm going to read the lyrics of your music choice finally. You belong among the wildflowers. You belong in a boat out at sea. Sail away, kill off the hours. You belong somewhere you feel free. Run away. You find a lover. Go away somewhere all bright and new. I've seen no other who compares with you. I would never have this down as a music choice in a context like this. Why does this magnificent... And I'm a huge fan of him as well. Why does this song mean so much to you?
Well, I tell you what, I don't listen to music. I don't listen to music for fun. I just don't. I've never enjoyed music in that way. So when Declan emailed me yesterday morning and said, what do you want as a song? I'm like, oh crap, I hardly know any songs. So I thought about it a bit, and I remembered I heard this song a while ago. I can't remember where, and it was just like, oh, that's nice. And then I thought, this is good for what I'm going to be talking about here, because if you've got PDA and you're in such an extreme situation and you don't understand what you're doing, you're having to cope. And, have you ever coped with an extreme situation? It's not something you want to be doing all day, every day. So I think it's about getting out of that and creating your own authentic life. And again, that also applies to the LGBT thing and the autistic thing. I just thought it was applicable to the situations. So since I'm not really a music listener, I wouldn't say it's that deep of a connection, but I liked it when I first heard it because I found it relatable, and I thought it would be relatable to anyone who is struggling with similar issues.
It's a magnificent Tom Petty. We sadly lost Tom this last couple of years. Ronnie, thank you so much. I've often said it in this job, every day is a school day. Today has been a school term, I think, for some of us maybe listening today. Thank you so much, and happy Pride to you.
You have to get me in again to talk about other gay stuff.
Absolutely, we'll do that. Ronnie, thank you.
You belong somewhere
I was so lucky to be stood at his last gig outside America in London a couple of years back. Tom Petty there and the magnificent Wildflowers. The choice of Ronnie today, who stepped. She'd never spoken about it before on the radio. Just felt that this year was the year, and we're deeply indebted when people have the courage of their conviction to do stuff like that. I obviously need to talk about GCSEs today. Still to come, Dr. Joe McAvoy as well. There's been a rise in the number of GCSE entries awarded